Hey out there, thanks for coming back. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about house hacking, part 2. I got the polo on because I just went and looked at a house in Union Beach. I've been looking at a lot of houses. Nothing's coming through, but I got to keep on looking. This house was so small, it reminded me of a house that I rented in Arkansas for about 6 months. The house was about 400 square feet, and it was fine for me as a single person. I think I paid $350 a month rent. Anyway, back to the topic, house hacking. Before I started doing these videos about house hacking, I was thinking, why do I feel so passionate about this topic? I don't want to come across as preachy. I can't stand when people get up there and they're like on a pulpit and they're preaching. I don't want to come across like that, and I hope I don't. I know very little about very little. I know a little bit about real estate, and I want to share it with you. I want to share it with anyone that wants to listen. It's almost like this was a secret and I didn't know about it going through school. Like somebody left this out of the curriculum. Like I didn't go into 4th grade and somebody said, hey, listen, let me tell you a little bit about wealth. In order to build wealth, generate wealth, become financially free, you're going to need to acquire some things, some assets that generate cash flow and grow with appreciation. And then the government, because they love when people do this, they'll give you tax breaks, depreciation, and other things that you might not have to pay tax on the profit you make. No one ever said that to me when I went into school. So I'm here to tell you that's why I'm so passionate about it. This is the way to wealth that I know. Maybe you know something else, and if you do, let me know. I'm going to get to the topic in 1 second, but I was also thinking about another story. The last job I had to have a bachelor's degree, and I bought into the hype about the college degree. Like, I finally went back to school when I was in my 30s, and I got my bachelor's degree. I think if my parents sold me on going to college right out of high school a little differently, maybe I would have went. Like, more school and more discipline was not something I wanted fresh out of high school. I don't think I was college material anyway. But if they would have said something like, hey, listen, you're going to have no constraints. You're going to be able to drink and party however you want. And there's going to be girls all over the campus. I'd be like, where do I sign up? Anyway, I didn't really go to college right out of high school. But I completed my degree in my 30s. The last job I had required a bachelor's degree. I had to grovel for the job. I think I had to put an alternative resume together. I had like a 4-part interview process. I think the job paid $26,000 a year. I'm not knocking $26,000 a year. I'm just saying I had to jump through some hoops. The first kid that I worked for, kid. He was like in his late 20s. And he was so proud of his education. The first conversation I had with him, and he didn't know me from Adam. I'm a little bit older than he is, and he still felt the need to maybe give me a little advice or something. And he said to me, the most important aspect or the most important thing he looks for in a person is their education level. That's the most important thing. I was thinking to myself, I don't think I'm going to like this kid. After that, he told me on several occasions what his college student loan debt was, $123,000. He wore that number as if it was like a badge of honor, like, hey, I got $123,000 in student debt. Now, I remember the conversation he had when I first met him, and I think I know what he was making. He was making about $35,000 a year. So I wound up having compassion and sympathy for this kid. I'm not mocking him here. I'm just saying how we buy into this cultural norm of this is the path to go down, college. You go to college, you get a good job, you work forever, then you retire. And that might work out for somebody. And again, I'm not here knocking that if that's your path. It wasn't my path. And it's not a lot of people's path. So I'm here to talk about house hacking, and I'm talking about real estate, because if you're not on that, strict blinders kind of path that so many people get caught up in, you might feel lost. Maybe this would be a good video to give to one of your kids that's in their 20s, or your grandkids or something like that. Like, there might be an alternative way for you to be successful and happy without having to go to college. And again, I'm not here saying don't go to college, don't quit. Harry said quit. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that kid that I was talking to you about, maybe he was in a field that he really loved. And maybe the value that he put on that field to be able to get into it with a master's degree was that important to him. However, just below the surface, I looked at it like this. He spent at least 6 years getting his master's degree. He came out of school $123,000 in debt in order to make $35,000. Now in the future, maybe he can get his own practice and maybe he can make 60, 70, 80, even $100,000. I don't know. But as far as with math, finances, and wealth, doesn't make any sense to me. So maybe these house hacking videos are geared towards, or it seems like they're geared towards people that are in their 20s, but that's not the case. This could apply to anyone at any age. You're going to have to go back and look at the first one. It's only 4 minutes, the video, the house hacking video, but I use real numbers from the Brown house because I figured why not give you real numbers? So let me recap. House hacking part 2. That's this video. You bought a $330,000 house 1 year ago. You're in the 13th month right now. This is part 2. Here's the good news. Step 1 is the most difficult part. Now it gets easier. I'm trying to make these videos 10 minutes or less because my attention doesn't last too long, and I don't know if yours does. So it's going to be kind of quick. However, you can hit rewind, fast forward, pause, stuff like that. Here's a recap of the first video. You bought a house for $330,000 purchase price. After 1 year, it's going to be worth $353,000. That's because of this appreciation that we're in. Currently 14%, and I'm only saying 7% for the next 12 months. You're going to owe $306,000 at the end of the year. That's with the down payment that you came up with, along with the appreciation, or the pay down on the loan. Your monthly payment, principal, interest, tax, and insurance, all in on this piece of property was $1,750. These numbers aren't exact, but they're very close. You came up with $16,500 down payment. If you want to know where to get a down payment because you don't have it, write me down below and I'll give you some suggestions. And I also said I forecast the rent to be $2,500. You see, I was going to hold this Brown house, and that's what I would ask for the rent. So I'm not just pulling this out of my back pocket. I talked about a HELOC because you're going to have a $47,000 spread between what you owe and what it's worth. And then I also talked about cash on cash returns. I'm not going to go into detail about that today, but that's the recap. I'm sure I'm going to get better with technology, and it's not always going to be a whiteboard. I'm hoping that it will eventually be like one of these electronic ones where I go click and something else comes out. However, until then, you see I put this little star here? So that little star is over here. This is taken into consideration, these things that you have going against you, because you have some things going against you in this market. It's a seller's market. The house that you bought for $330,000, that's what it was worth. Like you didn't go in and you bought a $350,000 house, but you bought it for $330,000. It was worth $330,000 because it's a seller's market. You didn't put in any sweat equity. So if you go into a house and it needs some painting, some yard work, maybe some fix-ups here and there that it doesn't really cost any money, but you do it yourself and you increase the value of the property. And this piece of property, you didn't have that option, so you don't have any sweat equity. You're paying mortgage insurance because you only came up with 5% down payment. Last but not least, this is the first time you did this. This is the toughest one. The toughest one. How to get all the jargon down from the loan officers and from the bank and from the appraiser and from the title company and from Harry spitting so much stuff out. This is your hardest one. Now that you got this done, it's like a cakewalk. It's not easy, but it is simple. I wasn't going to put this part in, but I have to. Did you take it to the next level? Let's say you're 25 years old, right? You're out there, you watched part 1 of house hacking. And you're like, man, I think I could do this. And then you said, I think I could take it to another level. You know what the other level is? When you buy that house, did you rent out some of the bedrooms to your friends? Let's say you're a single guy or a single gal, and you got a 4-bedroom house. You don't need all that space yourself. If you really want to put this into overdrive and get your wealth building machine going on like 90, that's how fast I like to do on the Parkway when we're going down to Lake City. Sometimes Diane jumps. All right, you see that I could revert back to like almost being manic, and I don't want to come across like that. However, if you bought the house and you're single, I guess a married couple can do it, but I don't want a lot of people living with me. But if you're single and you rent out some of the rooms, and the other people renting out the rooms in your house pay for your mortgage, you live for free. You live for free. Did you see that? Live for free. All right, Harry, you got our real estate juices pumping. I really think we could do this, because if you could do it, Harry, we could do it too. And that is absolutely true. What's going to happen in year 2? So we're saying only 12 months have gone by. You got your first deal underneath your belt. What did I say? The most difficult deal. Your first deal. It's year 2. What's the possibilities? Well, I put like a little asterisk up there. Want to talk about getting more respect, having more freedom, being in charge of your money, and having more options? You're going to be talking about year 2. You could get into house hacking, and there's so many other possibilities. However, just like a good TV show, when they cut to commercial, you're going to have to come back for part 3 for that.